Our world is wrapped in mystery. Everything we know about the past comes through the limited lens of historians. What actually happened remains largely unknown. We know that dinosaurs ruled this planet about 66 million years ago, and then, according to everything we're taught, they were wiped out. But what if I told you that there are discoveries that prove dinosaurs coexisted with early humans? It sounds like pure science fiction, but after seeing these discoveries, you might start questioning everything you thought you knew about our history. So, let's begin with number 15. Tuprom Stegosaurus carving. In the Tuprom Temple, there's a small carving that has managed to grab a lot of attention. Surrounded by other animal engravings, there's one particular image that makes no sense. It shows an animal that uncannily looks like a stegosaurus. The shape, the body, and even what looks like plates along its back, it's hard to ignore the similarity. The temple itself dates back to the 12th century, long before dinosaurs were officially discovered by modern science. So the obvious question comes up. How could ancient artists carve something that looks so close to a dinosaur? Some say it's just a coincidence. According to experts, the carving could represent a known animal, combined with decorative patterns around it that make it look like something else. Others believe people are simply seeing what they want to see. But not everyone agrees with that explanation. For many, the carving remains puzzling. It doesn't prove anything on its own, but it definitely adds to the list of strange details that don't fully line up with what we expect from history. Number 14. Fossilized human footprints. The idea that humans and dinosaurs may have shared the Earth is fascinating, but actual fossil evidence tells a different story. Fossilized human footprints have been found in several parts of the world, offering a clear look into early human life, but none date anywhere close to the age of dinosaurs. One of the most well-known examples comes from Laetoli, where footprints believed to belong to Australopithecus afarensis were preserved in volcanic ash. These prints are estimated to be around 3.6 million years old. That might sound ancient, and it is, but it's still nowhere near the 66 million years ago when dinosaurs disappeared. These footprints show how early humans walked, how they moved together, and even hint at social behavior. They give a snapshot of life long before modern humans existed. While they don't support the idea of coexistence with dinosaurs, they do highlight something just as interesting: how long the human story really is, and how much of it we're still piecing together. It's just fascinating. Number 13. The Ica stones. A collection of strange stones discovered in Peru has sparked debate for decades. Known as the Ica stones, hundreds of them were gathered and studied by Dr. Javier Cabrera in the 1960s. Local villagers brought him these stones from different parts of the country, each one carved with detailed engravings. What makes them shocking is what's actually on them. Many of the carvings appear to show humans alongside creatures that strongly resemble dinosaurs. Some scenes even suggest interaction between the two, which directly clashes with the accepted timeline of history. At first glance, it sounds impossible. According to science, humans and dinosaurs are separated by tens of millions of years. Yet these stones seem to tell a very different story. Naturally, critics were quick to call them fake, and many believe they were made to attract attention or money. Still, not everyone is convinced. Some argue that the level of detail and consistency raises questions. Well, real or not, the Ica stones continue to stir curiosity. Number 12. Kachina Bridge, Utah carvings. At the base of Kachina Bridge, inside Canyonlands National Park, there are rock carvings that have drawn plenty of attention. These petroglyphs were created by the ancestral Puebloans thousands of years ago. The walls are filled with symbols, figures, and stylized animals. Most clearly reflect the daily life, beliefs, and traditions of the people who made them. But a few shapes stand out more than others. Some viewers think certain carvings resemble long-necked creatures with curved tails, forms that remind them of dinosaurs. It's this resemblance that sparks the debate. Supporters see it as a possible link to something older, something not fully explained. Critics, on the other hand, say these shapes are simply artistic interpretations of known animals or symbolic designs tied to culture and spirituality. No clear answer settles the argument. What's certain is that these carvings offer a window into the past. Whether they represent real creatures or just imagination, they continue to pull people in and keep the questions alive. Number 11. Acambaro figures. Back in 1944, a discovery in Acambaro totally puzzled people. A man named Waldemar Julsrud claimed to have uncovered thousands of small clay figurines buried in the area. What made them unusual wasn't just their number, but what they showed. Many of these figures appeared to depict humans interacting with creatures that look very similar to dinosaurs. Some showed people riding them, others standing beside them, almost like they existed in the same world. That alone was enough to challenge everything we think we know about history. As expected, critics didn't take long to dismiss the figures. Most experts labeled them as modern fabrications, arguing they were created and buried intentionally. The style and variety of the figures also raised doubts. Still, there are people who believe there's more to the story. Some suggest that history might not be as complete as we think, while others go even further with more unusual theories. Regardless of what you believe, the Acambaro figures remain a strange and controversial find. They continue to spark debate, sitting somewhere between curiosity and mystery. Number 10. Paluxy River Tracks. Along the riverbeds of the Paluxy River, a discovery stirred up serious debate. In certain dried sections, large tracks were found, some resembling dinosaur footprints and others appearing almost human. What caught attention wasn't just the tracks themselves, but how close they seemed to each other. Some believed they showed humans and dinosaurs moving through the same space at the same time. For supporters, this felt like strong evidence that the accepted timeline might not be as fixed as we think. The footprints looked convincing enough to spark curiosity. Their shapes, sizes, and placement led many to imagine a completely different version of the past, one where giant creatures and humans shared the same ground. But critics weren't convinced. Many experts argued that the so-called human tracks were either eroded dinosaur prints or natural formations that only looked human over time. Some suggested they were altered or carved later to create controversy. Even now, the Paluxy tracks remain a topic of discussion. Number 9. Dinosaur petroglyphs. Rock carvings found across different parts of the world have always sparked curiosity, but a few stand out more than others. In certain regions, especially in Tassilian Asia, ancient petroglyphs show large reptile-like figures that don't quite match known animals. At first, some of these shapes look a lot like dinosaurs, long bodies, extended tails, and unusual proportions that feel out of place. That's what fuels the question. Were these just symbolic drawings, or something people actually saw? Supporters lean toward the idea that these carvings might represent real encounters, suggesting that some form of ancient reptiles may have survived longer than we think. It's a bold claim, but one that keeps coming up. Most researchers, however, take a different view. They argue that these figures are likely mythical or symbolic, shaped by imagination, beliefs, or storytelling traditions of the time. Still, the resemblance is hard to ignore for some. Whether symbolic or something else, these petroglyphs continue to raise questions. Number 8. Behemoth and Tannin. Ancient texts have always described strange and powerful creatures, and some believe these descriptions might connect to real prehistoric animals. In the Bible, two names often come up: Behemoth and Tannin. The term tannin appears in several passages and is often translated as a serpent or dragon. It's usually described as large, powerful, and sometimes linked to water or chaos. That alone has led some to compare it to massive reptiles. Behemoth, on the other hand, is described as a land creature of immense strength. Its size and features have made people wonder if it could represent something beyond known animals. Of course, the word dinosaur didn't exist when these texts were written, so any connection is based on interpretation. Most scholars view these creatures as symbolic or mythological, representing forces of nature rather than real animals. Still, the descriptions are detailed enough to keep people wondering, were these just mythical stories or echoes of something much older? Number 7. Carbon dating of a triceratops. A discovery in Montana added another layer to this debate. A fossil identified as belonging to a triceratops was tested using radiocarbon dating, and the result raised eyebrows. The dating suggested an age of around 33,500 years. That's a problem, because according to established science, triceratops lived roughly 68 million years ago and disappeared around 66 million years ago. But the timelines don't match at all. Findings like this have been pointed to as possible evidence that dinosaurs might not have vanished as early as believed. However, most scientists remain skeptical. Radiocarbon dating isn't considered reliable for samples that old, and contamination is often given as the most likely explanation. Even small amounts of modern carbon can throw off results significantly. Still, similar traces have been reported in other ancient fossils as well, which keeps the discussion open. For now, it's not seen as proof, but it's enough to make people take a second look. What do you think about it? Well, let us know. Number 6. The aurochs. Not every creature tied to ancient history is a dinosaur, but some still give us a glimpse into a much older world. One of those is the aurochs, a powerful ancestor of modern cattle. These animals once roamed across Europe, Asia, and North Africa, living alongside early humans for thousands of years. They were massive, larger, and more aggressive than the cattle we see today, with long, forward-curving horns and strong, muscular builds. Unlike dinosaurs, we know for certain that humans and aurochs shared the same world. In fact, they played a big role in early human life, both as a source of food and as part of cultural expression. Evidence of this can be seen in cave paintings, especially in places like the Lascaux Caves, where these animals are drawn in remarkable detail. Their presence shows how humans interacted with large, powerful creatures long before modern civilization. While they aren't dinosaurs, they still connect us to a time when the world looked very different. All right, guys, now let's head over to Number 5. Klerksdorp spheres. Deep within ancient rock layers in Klerksdorp, small metallic-looking spheres have been found that continue to puzzle researchers. These objects, known as the Klerksdorp spheres, were discovered embedded in rock formations believed to be around 3 billion years old. What makes them unusual isn't just their age, it's their appearance. Many of these spheres are smooth, rounded, and marked with straight grooves running around them. Some look almost polished, as if they were shaped deliberately rather than formed naturally. That's where the mystery begins. Some believe these spheres point toward intelligent design, suggesting they couldn't have formed without some level of advanced intervention. Others strongly disagree, explaining that natural geological processes can produce similar shapes over long periods of time. Scientists generally lean toward natural formation, linking them to mineral growth patterns within the rock itself. Still, the visual detail keeps people questioning. Whether natural or not, the Klerksdorp spheres remain one of those discoveries that feel just unusual enough to make sense. Number 4. Leviathan in the Bible. Another creature described in ancient texts is the Leviathan, often mentioned as a massive sea beast. Found in books like Job, Psalms, and Isaiah, it's portrayed as powerful, untouchable, and almost unstoppable. Its features stand out: armor like scales, a massive body, and in some descriptions even the ability to breathe fire. That combination has led some to compare it to ancient marine reptiles like plesiosaur or ichthyosaur. The idea is simple. Early humans may have discovered large fossil remains and built stories around them, eventually shaping the image of Leviathan. Most historians, however, see it as a mythological figure, representing chaos or the power of the sea rather than a real creature. Even so, the similarities between these descriptions and known prehistoric animals are enough to spark curiosity. Whether myth or memory, Leviathan remains one of the most fascinating creatures ever described in ancient writing. Number 3. The Civitherium of Kish. An artifact discovered in the ancient city of Kish has raised some interesting questions. It's a small copper ring, believed to date back to around 3500 BC, and what stands out is the animal carved onto it. The figure closely resembles Civitherium, a massive giraffe-like creature that scientists believe went extinct nearly 1 million years before human civilizations like Sumer even existed. That's where things get strange. If the dating is accurate, then how did people at that time know what this animal looked like? Some suggest it may have survived much longer than expected, possibly living alongside early human societies. There are also ancient rock paintings from parts of Africa and India that seem to show similar animals, adding more weight to the idea. Of course, not everyone agrees. Many researchers believe the carving could be symbolic or simply misinterpreted. But what if some prehistoric animals lasted longer than we've been told? Number 2. The Barbary lion. Once roaming the forests and mountains of North Africa, the Barbary lion was one of the most impressive predators of its time. Larger and more heavily built than most modern lions, it stood out not just for its size, but for its presence. Though not a dinosaur, it represents a world filled with powerful animals that lived alongside humans. These lions were known for their thick manes and strong bodies, making them both respected and feared. Over time, human expansion and hunting led to their decline. By the early 20th century, they had disappeared from the wild, with the last confirmed sighting reported around 1922. Even after that, some were kept in captivity, preserving at least a part of their lineage. Their story is a reminder of how closely human history is tied to the fate of other species. While they don't connect directly to dinosaurs, they reflect an older, harsher world, one where survival wasn't guaranteed and where humans shared the land with creatures far more dangerous than most today. Okay, now let's end this with Number 1. Were dragons inspired by dinosaurs? Stories of dragons exist in cultures all over the world. From massive, fire-breathing beasts in Europe to long, serpent-like creatures in Asia, the descriptions share one thing in common. They resemble large reptiles. That similarity has led some people to wonder if dragon myths were actually inspired by dinosaurs. Long before science gave names to fossils, ancient people often came across massive bones buried in the ground. Without any real explanation, it's easy to imagine how these discoveries could turn into stories of powerful creatures. Over time, those stories became legends. The features match in some ways: scales, size, claws, wings, in certain depictions. It's not a perfect comparison, but it's close enough to make people think. Of course, historians and scientists see dragons as purely mythological, shaped by culture, imagination, and storytelling rather than real encounters. But the connection still comes up. Because when people in completely different parts of the world describe similar creatures, it naturally raises curiosity about where those ideas came from in the first place. Well, that's all from us. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you very soon. You very soon. You very soon. You very soon.